Hello and welcome to this live stream here on Rotted Reviews. It's good to see everybody again. So this is going to be very informal, very conversational. This is just going to be a grand old time here with no real expectations. So I'm going to be answering a lot of AMAs that I've had backlogged. I'm going to be talking with the chat here and just having an evening of reconnecting with everybody, because that's what it kind of feels like. I just need to connect with the folks here. Hi, Sammy. Welcome. Hello again. I'm going to test out this chat thing I got going on here. Hang on. Nice. All right. Hello, Chet. Hello, Mel. Welcome. Can everybody hear me all right? Hey, Tanner. What up? Sounds great. Well, that's great. So thank you all for joining me here. Like I said, this is just going to be very casual. This is just going to be a hangout, chit-chatting, and catching back up. Like I said, I got a lot of backlogged questions from AMAs. So if anybody's unfamiliar with the concept, so basically the way it works is on Patreon, I will come up with, not necessarily every week, but every once in a while, I will have a vlog. I try to do it once a week, but if there's nothing to talk about, there's nothing to talk about. Sometimes I just live my life. But at the end of every vlog, I will do an Ask Me Anything where I will spin the wheel and select the question, whatever question may come my way. So people get the opportunity to ask their questions in a form that I send them, and then from there they can ask me anything, and then the wheel decides randomly. Oh, thank you, Sammy, so much. That is very appreciated. Thank you. That just went away. Let me show you what I got, because it's a lot. There's a lot of questions that have been backlogged, and I would say 90% of them are from Tom. So this is more questions that I am going to have weeks to answer them. So let's go ahead and just find out real quick here what I'll be answering first. Here we go. Let's get the ball rolling. Let's get the wheel rolling. Chat, it's a good thing you're here, because I know that you wanted me to answer this one so that you could have a follow-up to this. How I make my coffee, more often than not, is usually just with a 10-cup drip coffee maker. It's usually like Folgers. I love good coffee. I love grinding good coffee. I love putting good coffee in the French press, but I got to tell you, I am a utility man. 99 times out of 100, I'm just pouring ground crap into the basket and doing a 10-cup drip. So that's the answer. That's how I have my coffee more often than not. And I usually will take it black. Usually we'll just have 1 cup in the morning, and then that'll do me. So there you go. That's my coffee routine. If I have anything deviating from that, it'll maybe have, like I have a cup of coffee right now, and I actually have some coconut oil cream in there. So occasionally I will have a cup in the afternoon/evening, and if I do, then I'll have it a little more dressed up. But I never really go out for my coffee, and even if I do, it's never ever anything really grand or grandiose. So in terms of having a half-calf Americano with a splash of hazelnut, that's not really my jam. I'm a black coffee guy. I'm a coffee-flavored coffee guy. I have nothing against anybody that wants to have any dressed-up orders, but I do enjoy a latte every once in a while, usually around the fall, and I'll have a chai latte. So, yes, everybody is feeling the love. Tanner, Sammy, take it down just a notch. Thank you, chat. That is very appreciated. I'm very glad to see everybody here. This is fantastic. Let's go ahead and you hate coffee. You hate cheese. I loved you to pieces, Sammy. You're one of my most staunch fans and always joining me in my live streams. And boy, I'm grateful for that. But man, sometimes I don't know. It's like the don't like coffee, don't like cheese. Whew. We're still there though. We're still there. All right. So that was an easy one. That was a quick one. That wasn't getting into anything too complex in terms of philosophy there. K-pop or J-metal? So thank you to Tom for asking that one. I don't really turn down any particular genre of music, even modern country. I think that finding the wheat from the chaff is a little more difficult in that regard, but it's okay. So, as far as one musical preference over another, I'm just not well versed enough in either of them to really decide. What I will say is, although I really enjoy a lot of pop songs and I'm not terribly versed in K-pop, I do enjoy what I have heard of J-metal. So, and that's not been a whole lot. I can't really think of any names off the top of my head. And if I tried, I would butcher them. But yeah, there's the one song that really kind of had me going down a little tiny bit of a rabbit hole with J-metal stuff was the song that they came up with. And I don't remember the name of the band, but it was like Shana Na Na Na. And it was the song that they came up with for the Sadako versus Kayako movie. If you look at the trailer to that, that's the J-metal song that's in there. And wow, I love that song. It's just a guilty pleasure. Thank you, Tanner. Thank you so much. Hello, Tara Lynn. It's so good to see you here. It's good to see everybody here. I don't know that there's any cheese that I don't like. I even like canned cheese, the squeezy cheese. All right. So far, some pretty easy questions. Nothing really delving that too much into philosophy or anything along those lines. So let's get to another one. Let's get knocking these out. Let's pare down this list. What piece of music do you use to get yourself psyched up for physical activity? That's a good question. Now, I'm not going to have what you might consider to be very traditional answers with this. First of all, I refuse to apologize for any of these answers. But what I will say is that the new Bop 2.0 from the Hanson collab is an absolute banger, and I refuse to give an inch of space on that. It is fantastic. It instantly pumps me up. It instantly puts me in a good mood. It instantly puts a smile on my face. That's an awesome one there. What I will say also, digging into the past a little bit, what is traditionally thought of as a one-hit wonder album, if not band, I have been beating the drum for this entire album is absolute bangers, front to back, all the way through, and that is Tub Thumper from Chumbawamba. That is a fantastic album for getting psyched up for physical activity, getting psyched up in general, getting psyched up with life. Check out all the way through. Put it on your playlist, Tub Thumper from Chumbawamba. It is way more than just that one song. So there you go. And, various, I'll just toss on like, exercise playlist from, some curated playlist from somewhere out there, and, just go from there. But, and I'd like to be surprised with things like that. But off the top of my head, those are the two major things that come to mind is Mbop 2.0 and Tub Thumper. All right. Oh, I can see that. Prince being fun. Yeah, I could definitely see that. What is your favorite song to soothe the broken soul? I'm going to dip back into the Teenage Mike. I will never, ever, ever think of anything other than Jagged Little Pill. And I mean the entire album. That was like, there have been times I've gone through a breakup and I will just put that album on repeat. It is absolutely fantastic for a breakup. It's a fantastic album entirely. I mean, it is a wonderful album. It's like the definition of the 90s. I love it to pieces. Alanis Morissette's Jagged Little Pill, the entire album. So good. I mean, some like really heartfelt stuff on there too. I forget the name of it now, but the one that, she was talking about, or she was singing rather about being brought up in Catholicism. So good. So fucking good. All right. Thank you, Ben, for asking that question. We're really whipping through them this time. Mary Jane, that was the name of it. Thank you, Terrelyn. What are your top 5 most listened to? Wow, what the shit? We're going through music stuff a lot. Okay, so this was asked by Sean. Sean, who recently paid me a visit in person at my house. That was really nice. That was a lot of fun. We hung out together and kind of worked on his project together. Thank you, Sean, for that and for asking this question. Top 5 most listened to music albums of all time. Well, I think it's going to go Jagged Little Pill. I think it's probably also going to go Tub Thumper. I just got to get those out of the way. I mean, I mentioned them off the top of my head, and there's a reason for it. They're fucking awesome. I'm probably also going to have to go Black Album from Metallica. Thank you, Tanner. Write me that tune. You can collab with Tara Lynn. It'd be a great time. Hello, B. Welcome. Okay, so yeah, we got Tub Thumper, we got Jagged Little Pill, we got Black Album from Metallica. Hello, Kate. Thank you so much. I really appreciate. I'm still absolutely devastated that I've never really thought of a way to describe super thanks that is alliterative for my channel, like the rotted reward or something like that. I don't know. Anyway, but thank you so much for the super thanks. So let's see. I got 2 more albums to come up with. I can't help but say that one of them has to be, and I don't know which one would of his catalog, but I listened to so much Weird Al when I was a teenager that I know that whatever one of these 5 has to be a Weird Al, possibly 2 of them. Yeah, the Weird Al's catalog is just fantastic. I'm trying to think of the 5th one now. I'm gonna have to sit on that. Like the entire album. We don't do a whole lot of albums these days, do we? It's mostly just, pieces and songs and, what winds up on a playlist that gets introduced to us, and we listen to the same song over and over on a repeat. An entire album front to back. Yeah, that's getting to be a little more rare, and that's a little weird, isn't it? I kind of want to say that number 5 is either going to be a tie with Straight Outta Compton from NWA or might be it. I think that might be it. I'm just probably going to leave it there. I was going to say Enter the Wu-Tang, but I think Straight Outta Compton. Yeah. So there you go. Yeah, I mean, I did get into a pretty big phase of like getting into, just really broadening my horizons with a lot of different musical choices and really entering into a lot of things, which was weird. Oh, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Did. I really appreciate the kind words there. But yeah, I mean, there was like when I was an early teenager, I went through a very, very religious phase. And to the point where I remember the Black Album was actually gifted to me by some, not even friends of mine, honestly, more antagonists in my life. Not necessarily bullies, but not friends. Hello, Jackie. Welcome. And I don't know what it was. Perhaps they saw that, like they saw that repressed nature in me and they wanted to give me an outlet. So they gave me the Black Album. And it was before I even had a CD player. And I'm not ashamed to say this story. It's a little embarrassing, but I didn't have a CD player, but they gave me my first CD, which was Metallica's Black Album. So to play it, I actually went to Circuit City and I put it in their CD player and I played about 5 seconds of it and immediately was scared of the devil. So I stopped playing it, but I held on to the album. And eventually, a year or two later, when I kind of started, I guess my adolescent growth into becoming more of myself, it got dusted off and then it became a very big part of my growth. So yeah, I mean, that was a great one there. Wow. So many people here and I'm so appreciative. I was wondering if we can know about your education in terms of studies. Another question, I was wondering if you were going to make an ultimate review of the Paranormal Activity franchise. No, that's all right. No apologies necessary. Thank you so much for asking. As far as my education goes, in terms of studies, I was never that big in academia. I went through high school. In America, we have what's called K through 12, which basically takes us from ages 5 through 18. And I went through that, and then I took about 2 weeks of community college when an opportunity arose to work full time. So that's what I did. And that worked out pretty well. And that's pretty much like my career path from there was working full time. However, as a sideline thing, I started up a website where I reviewed just movies in general. And it was a very casual thing. And I decided that I wasn't very knowledgeable in that regard, that I wanted to be more prolific. I wanted to have a basis of journalistic integrity to my name. So I shut down the website and I went back to college, community college at the very least. And again, in America, with community college, you can kind of pick and choose and select your courses. If you just want to take painting, you can just take painting. You can put the money down and it's not like necessarily for a degree. It's just you want to take this class and you want to learn. That's it. So it's a little bit more flexible. It's a little more, it's a lot more cost effective, and you're not actually necessarily going all the way through for your degree. So I went specifically for a journalism course, and I was there for a couple of days, and I learned about, some basics of what's called AP style and some, correction notations, things like that. And then we got to the point where we went all around the room and we were talking about what we want to get out of journalism, what we want to do in the world of journalism. And it finally got to me, and I said, I want to be a film critic. And my professor at that point said that you shouldn't be here. I mean, she just said that you're not going to get what you want out of this. But if you want, we do actually have an opening in the student newspaper for a film critic. So why don't you just dive in and I will guide you along the way. So that's what I did. And for, I want to say about 6 to 8 months, I wound up being a film critic for the San Diego Mesa Press, student newspaper in San Diego. It was a lot of fun. I got sent to press junkets. I was sitting there alongside the actual paid film critics for other newspapers, radio, all sorts of stuff. And I was watching movies early, and I would take the pamphlet and go there by invite only. I got to go to a special group junket interview with Robin Williams, Edward Norton, Catherine Keener, and Danny DeVito for the screening of Death to Smoochie. That was one of the best times of my life. It was fantastic. And I wound up getting out of it, and I kind of had a few different projects, a few different reasons, and I wound up working more on actual movies than writing about them. So that's essentially kind of the length and breadth of my formal education. Everything else that I know is mostly just self-taught. So I've always been very eager for information. I've always been very interested in learning new things. And one of the best things that I've ever learned is how to learn, how to look things up, how to approach things with a sense of objectivity and really dive in. And I've always kind of followed my heart in that regard with any of the natural curiosities I've had. So that's been a pretty big guiding light outside of formal education, is just my natural curiosity and my endeavor to try new things. To answer your second question about when I will get to an ultimate review of the Paranormal Activity franchise, I don't know. I genuinely do not know. Ultimate franchises are a lot of fun. They're a little bit hit or miss in terms of the reception and the staying power of their analytics. The Ju-On Ultimate video that I did is, to this day, one of my top ones. But they take a lot of work. They take a lot of time. They take a lot of work. And when you wind up with the situation of having more than, I would say, 7 entries in a series, it takes a lot out of me. And it's a big level of risk versus reward, exposure versus the potential of it falling on its face. I put a lot of work into the Tremors one. Like, nobody watched it, and I'm still sad about that. I think it was fantastic. It was one of the best times I ever had making an ultimate review. Just completely shit its bed in the analytics. I still stand by it. I loved it, and it was just joyous. So in terms of deciding when and for what to do the next the next ultimate review, I don't know. It's kind of when I feel like I'm in a place of allowing myself to be putting that much work in for that much exposure and for that much potential disappointment. I don't necessarily, I mean, I think that no one watched Tremors beyond the first 2, certainly beyond the first 1, but I still think that the first Tremors is, insanely popular in terms of staying power, even outside of the, monster or horror lover community. I think that Tremors is a very accessible movie. It's just, as a series, I don't think it really took off that much. We didn't really see Michael Gross outside, embrace the Burt Gummer persona outside of just the niche fandom of the series. But there are so many in that series that are absolutely worth watching. I think that it's a shame. It is a genuine shame, because I don't think that there was a stinker in the bunch. There were a few episodes of the TV series that were a little but overall, as far as just the films go, and several of the episodes, I thought it was just absolutely fun. You take them at face value. You go in there for a popcorn, monster, worm, loving good time. There is not a disappointing entry in there. So anyway, that's my 2 cents on Tremors. All right. Well, I'm glad that I inspired you to do that, Jackie. Thank you. All right. So let's see. Let me, I'm going back up in the chat here just to see if I missed any questions along the way. Where's the Amityville update? There's been a couple of Amityville movies, but none that have really tickled my fancy. There is one coming up that I'm interested in, I'm excited about, and I won't be reviewing, but I actually have a different reason this time. It's called Amityville NATO, kind of like Sharknado. Yeah. But the reason I won't be reviewing that one is because I'm kind of in it a little bit, not a whole lot. The filmmaker reached out to me and was, a fan and wanted my help with, or just kind of said, do you want to be involved with this in any way? So I'm like, yeah, it depends on what you want. I'm not going to fly anywhere for this, but he had me record it's just some voiceover work that's going to be like an ad on TV. It was just super stupid fun. And I don't even know if it's going to make the cut, but this is one of the things that is a little difficult to really get across without sounding snobbish. But I may review movies about anything and everything. Let's just, the stupidest shit imaginable. But I still take the reviewing portion of it very seriously. So yeah, the fact that I even have one line of a voiceover dialogue of an advertisement that's showing on somebody's TV, I'm recusing myself from doing a review. I may promote it. I may do a video on it, but I won't be reviewing it. So yeah. If the director didn't see Amityville Gas Chamber, well, then that's their loss, because everybody should watch it. That's my take on it. I actually do take a little bit of sinister joy in the idea that anybody that is wanting to go down the road that I did and, full completionist viewing of every Amityville, that they will have to at some point cross my movie and watch it front to back. And I take some glee in that. And I hope they'll enjoy it. Most of the people that have seem to have enjoyed it. So, yeah. Has anybody, I'm curious about this. Chime up if this is true for you. Has anybody actually gone through the gauntlet? Has anybody done what I've done and actually watched all the Amityville movies yet? I'm curious. I've heard from a couple people that have, and I'm wondering if anybody's here today. All right, let's get to another question. Nice. Being that you're a former San Diego gentleman, which do you prefer, esquite or elote? Am I pronouncing? I know I'm pronouncing elote right. I don't know about esquite, but really, it's kind of two sides of the same coin. It's just a different application. So I'm going to go ahead and say elote. I look up the dishes if you're not familiar with them, but they're essentially the same thing. It's just esquite. I'm apologies all around if I'm mispronouncing that, and I have a feeling I am. But that's essentially elote off the cob. It's a Mexican corn salad that's using the same type of ingredients as elote that just happens to be on the cob. If you don't know what I'm talking about, look it up. It's fucking delicious. It's easy to make. It's absolutely worth making. It is wonderful. If you've ever seen Nacho Libre, the corn that they were eating with the goop and seasonings and such on it, that's what I'm talking about. That's what Sean's talking about. So thank you, Sean, for asking that. I think that eating elote and just eating corn on the cob is a lot more of a fun kind of event than just a bowl of corn. But really, when you get down to it, it's corn. Yeah, Sammy, you probably won't. But I love it. That was one that man. So I actually just had the Facebook thing that'll pop up, your memories from 1 year ago. That happened just the other day. Memories that happened 1 year ago. And it was when I did a cookout and I made carnitas, and I made elote, and I invited friends and family over, and that was actually the last time that my mother-in-law was actually at our house, and she did not like Mexican food. So, that took a little convincing. It's like, no, just give it a try. Everybody went nuts for the elote, including her. So that's one of the good memories. So yeah. That was, when someone passes, it's one of those things where, eventually you kind of realize that, maybe you haven't thought about it in, a little while, but then something hits the corner of your eye and all of a sudden you're right back in it. And for me, it was like, oh yeah, well, 1 year ago I made the cookout with the carnitas and the elote, and oh yeah, that was 1 year ago that, that was the last time she was at her house. So, all right. If you had to boil horror down to one director, one writer, and one actor, who would they be? Well, thank you, Tom, for asking this one. That's a good question. One director, one writer, and one actor. I have a hard time not saying John Turturro as far as the actor goes. I'm such a big fan of his. I mean, I want to say, Lin Shaye, but that's the cheesy, fun-loving horror movie part of me that wants to say that. But I think the actual answer would probably be John Turturro. I know that he was in Secret Window with Johnny Depp. That was technically, I think, maybe one of the only horror movies he was in. But I think that I would like to see him in a horror movie. I would be interested. You got to go. Bye, Kate. Thank you. Thank you for joining. I really do appreciate it. I would like to see what John Turturro could turn in with a performance from Ari Aster. Yeah. And I think I would want it written by him as well. And he's not necessarily my favorite director. Like, I was a little bit soft on Hereditary. I mean, it was definitely, impactful. I enjoyed Midsummer more. But I just think that there is a strong possibility for a powerhouse performance with that team up. And I would really like to see what that could deliver. So, yeah, I'm going to go ahead and say John Turturro in a movie written and directed by Ari Aster. Are you concerned about corporate control over social media? Yes, very much so. I'm going to avoid as much as possible the soapbox. Unless you want me to get on the soapbox, let me know. I'll get on the soapbox. But here's my big concern about corporate control over social media is it's mostly targeted content. The concern that I have is not necessarily the bubbles that we make for ourselves, but I think more and more, and bearing in mind, I have a huge amount of respect and reverence and love for Gen Z and the generations coming up now. I think that teenagers and adolescents and 20-somethings currently are one of the most, empathetic, interesting, brave individuals with such a strong emotional vocabulary that it's heartwarming to see the level of selflessness come out of the generations coming up, and it really does make me hopeful for the future, as long as assholes like myself and older folks don't wind up destroying things before they get the chance to get their hand on the wheel. That being said, there is a strong sense right now of targeted media having the potential to destroy curiosity. By that, I mean that a lot of studies have shown that people, especially, I would say teenagers right now, don't really seek out things beyond their bubble, beyond their comfort zone, and instead are not just happy, but prefer having their content delivered to them. And that's concerning to me on so many levels. First of all, on a selfish level, like, a small channel's never going to get off the ground if people aren't going to be seeking them out, because, like, I think that it's maybe 1 or 2 times a year that I ever see any of my videos ever be graced by the gods of fucking YouTube to ever hit the main page of anyone's feed. And you can tell when it happens, because all of a sudden that average view rate goes from here to just right through the roof for about half an hour. And then it's back to where it was. And for that half an hour, I hit main feed. And that's really fun. But I can't help but feel like it shouldn't be necessary. That people should be seeking things out more. That people should be more curious. That folks should want to branch out from not just the stuff that's being delivered to them. And I get guilty of it as well, but I really do try and, seek things out. If I'm interested in a hobby, I will go to the ends of the earth to research it. But I think that, between the commoditization of interest and the bubbles that we allow ourselves to be put in, combined with the targeted media and being not just complacent, but embracing the idea of only witnessing what we are being given, what we are allowed to be shown by the corporate control of social media, is concerning. I think that the world does better with full transparency, and I think that we do better as a people when we allow ourselves to be, have our horizons as broad as possible. And we got to break out of those bubbles, both in social structures and in knowledge and in interest and in hobbies and in perception. So, yeah, I'm extremely concerned about corporate control over social media. And then we get into positions where, things are getting consolidated and things are getting commoditized to the point where, information is only being controlled by the billionaires and so forth. And we wind up, even when there's a open platform of, good social structure that may be in good standing, it's only a matter of time before it winds up getting bought, packaged, stripped down, sold, and twisted into a version of what it previously was. So, yeah, there's a lot of concern over that. And I think that really the solution just needs to be pretty much what we did with Ma Bell, and that's really start enforcing our anti-monopoly laws. That we need to actually break apart monopolies. We need to prevent companies like Amazon from being as grand and as big and as all-encompassing as they are. And that includes Amazon, that includes Alphabet, that includes Apple. It needs to get broken apart, and it needs to be kind of put back into the hands of the people, and power given to the smaller folks and to the startups and so forth. So yeah, I think that that's my take on it. So thank you, Tom, for asking that one. And thank you all for putting up with my soapbox. All right, next question. Would you transfer your consciousness into a robust machine if/when the technology becomes available? Would I willingly go into the Black Mirror is what I'm hearing. There is a large portion of me that is very curious about it. And I think that kind of comes from the kind of innate human desire for immortality. And I think that's kind of what it would just basically translate to. If we are able to transfer our consciousness into an AI or simulated environment that just happens to be in a computer, something like that, then we're essentially, I mean, if we kind of assume that our consciousness as we know it is perfectly one-to-one analogous across mediums, be that either the port in a computer or the squishy jello up inside of our craniums, that's enticing. But again, because this is actually kind of serendipitous that we have this question immediately after the previous one. The technology would be in the hands of somebody, and that would be a really tough pill to swallow. Is who do you trust that to? You're talking about your fucking consciousness. You're talking about who you are, everything that you are in terms of your personality, your thoughts, your hopes, your dreams. It's huge. All right, Sammy, what's your question? I must have missed it, and I apologize for that. So go ahead and ask it again. I'm paying attention. Please ask away. So yeah, maybe if it was open source, if the technology for transferring my consciousness was in my hands, but then who do you entrust it to after you're gone? It's a good question. It's a lot of trust. And we look no further than Black Mirror to see just how bad it can get if that trust is misplaced. So yes, you want me to just skip to your question in the wheel then? Okay. All right. Well, let's take a gander. What house are you most looking forward to at Halloween Horror Nights? All right, I'm going to look them up. For anyone that doesn't know, I will be going to Orlando at the end of September for Halloween Horror Nights at Universal Studios. I'm super excited about that. If you're going, let me know. We can maybe meet up. Let's take a look at the houses. What houses do we have? 10 terrifying haunted houses coming this year. We have Stranger Things Season 4, Try to Escape the Curse of Vecna, The Exorcist for Believer and Evil Reawakened. The Last of Us, Chucky, Ultimate Kill Count. And then we have the original ones, not based on IPs. We have Universal Monsters Unmasked, The Oddfellows Twisted Origins, Dueling Dragons Choose Thy Fate, Yeti Campground Kills, The Darkest Deal, which sounds famous, fleeting, fear is forever. So it kind of sounds like the blues musician at the crossroads making a deal for the devil kind of thing. Oh, I'm sorry, chat. That sucks. God, that's a hell of a thing for the car to break down. Head gasket. And then the last house is Blood Moon Dark Offerings. Just kind of taking a look here. The Dueling Dragons Choose Your Fate thing sounds interesting because it kind of sounds like it may be almost a player versus player kind of thing where there may be two different paths that, the group will get split up and then there'll be some level of interacting with each other in more of an adversarial kind of way. I don't know. That sounds like it might be kind of interesting in that regard. Universal Monsters Unmasked sounds awesome. I have such a big place in my heart for the classic Universal Monsters, and I'm really looking forward to just generally at Universal Studios. They have that live show of the Universal Monsters horror makeup, presentation thing. I'm looking forward to that. So I would say that those two definitely. As far as the ones based on intellectual properties, as much as I enjoyed The Last of Us, I think that it could make a good haunted house, but it's not exactly my vibe because I think it's going to be a lot of, like medical facility kind of stuff, and that can be fun. But Chucky, also fun. The Exorcist, Believer, I'm very much looking forward to Stranger Things. I enjoyed season 4 immensely. The whole Vecna thing, that was just great. I would love to see a performer playing the character of Eddie shredding on a guitar outside the house or on top of the house. I think that could be great. So yeah, for the intellectual property ones, Stranger Things, and then for the others, I would say, yeah, Universal Monsters Unmasked and possibly the Dueling Dragons one. It's based on a ride Universal used to have, and I'm thinking it's a choose your ending kind of thing. Yeah. I love that kind of dynamic where it's a bit more interactive. I am bad with haunted houses, and by bad I mean I tend to employ humor when I get put in a position of being jump scared. So we have a very fantastic haunted house here in Andover. Well, people come from all over the state to go to our haunted house, and I love it to pieces. I am bad about making the performers laugh, though, and making them break character, because I get very dry humor-esque, and I get very stone-faced, just trying to be funny, when in fact, really what I'm trying to do is not allow myself to be, jump scared to the point of like, I want to go. So yeah, no, I don't punch them. I just crack them up. But I'm interested to see what professional performers, I've nothing against the performers out here, but they're volunteers. It's not what they do, on a professional level. I'm curious to see how I'll interact with professional performers in a professional environment with professional special effects, professional makeup effects. I'm very curious to see how this will all turn out, and I'm very, very excited. So thank you, Sammy, for asking that question. I will let you go if you need to, but thank you so much for joining. All right. I need a vacation. I'm so looking forward to the end of September. I need to get there. Please let me get there. Let me get there with nothing catastrophic happening between now and then. Yes. Yeah, I'm going to miss Tanner. I'm going to miss a lot of folks that won't be there, but they'll be there with us in spirit. And yeah, well, I'll make sure to take plenty of video and pictures and make them super, super, super jealous. All right. Next question. How my time spent walking in the mornings when I can get out has helped me beyond the exercise. Definitely be vlogging, Sammy. Looking forward to it. I miss your vlogs. No pressure, but I miss your vlogs. All right. My time spent walking. So for those of you that aren't abreast of the situation, I've been working on my health, losing weight, and exercising more. And one of the things I've been doing is walking in the morning. So I'll wake up. I usually wake up around 4 a.m. just naturally. I'm an early riser. I go to bed early, so there's the trade-off. But yeah, I am usually up at the ass crack of before dawn. And I've been getting out and walking. I'll put on my I got my high-vis straps. so I don't get run over. And I've been going for a walk, and it's been a good time. So yeah, it's been a good way to kind of get, heart rate going, wake up in the morning, get some air in the lungs. Around this time of year, it's a little worrisome because, well, critters. So, there's been a couple times I've had to stop, let a skunk pass, let a deer pass, avoid being sprayed by the aforementioned skunk. And that's about the only real worry. But it's been fun. It's been good for my health. My blood pressure's down. My cholesterol's down. Everything's really ticking along well. But as far as the help beyond the exercise, I think more than anything else, it just allows me to kind of get my thoughts together. And, this has been a tough year. And since I've been doing the channel, with the channel on strike, it has been difficult. And I'm so happy to do this live stream because it really kind of has felt like I haven't been as connected. And I'm happy to do something to correct that. So, in light of having some difficulties this year and in light of having some difficulties with the channel and putting a lot of pressure on myself, it's been a struggle in a lot of ways with various aspects of things. So, reconciling having a day when I don't work on a video or a creative project and not beating myself up about that. Prioritizing and proper task management, all of these things. And it winds up just getting cluttered up here. And I've been working a lot on task management in terms of organization. So, like to-do lists and prioritization of, the week and so forth, and planning things out. And that's going okay-ish. Yeah. But going for the walk, it helps just kind of clear the fog. One of two things generally will happen is either I will just stop thinking about it and get myself in a almost meditative state where I'm very present. I'm only in the present, and that's very helpful. I'm not worrying about the future. I'm not, stuck in the past. I'm just there with the morning air in my lungs, trying not to get sprayed by skunks, and having a good time. Or sometimes both. It will I will still have the thoughts, but I will have them in a way that I'm kind of removed from my desk. I'm removed physically from my situation, and I'm just able to process them a little better. I'm able to kind of approach them in just a different viewpoint, which is sometimes all that's really needed to clear that fog, to find the way that they can click into place that I was missing before. So yeah, I think that's generally, the big benefit that I've had outside of the exercise with my morning walks. So yeah, thank you, Tom, for asking that. All right, next question. I think the list is about half of what it was before. We're doing good work. If you could go back in time and talk to post-high school graduation Mike, what would you tell him? That's a good question, Ben. Thank you for asking it. So I like my life. Yeah, I mean, I do, there are things that I would like to improve. I am working on improving right now. And then there are things that I'm not currently working on that I would like to address later. But generally, I would say that I either like my life or the things that I want to improve. I'm looking forward to the opportunity of actively working on them. So that being said, I wouldn't want to really disrupt anything that has happened between then and now. There are definitely elements of my past between high school graduation and now that I wish didn't happen. Some terrible things, some tragic things, some things, choices that I've made that I wish I could undo. So plenty of mistakes I've made, but they have all led me here to a place where through all of them, I have grown, I have learned. Yes, Jenny loves coasters. Yeah, I mean, to a degree. I don't think she likes the really extreme ones or the wooden ones, but yeah, generally she likes coasters. But yeah, I tend to think that anything that has proven to be a difficulty that has been overcome allows us to grow. And the folks that I have encountered in my life that have skated through and had everything delivered to them and never really had to overcome a great deal of adversarial life encounters, adversarial people, a lot of difficulties, tragedy, haven't had the opportunity to bleed and scar and then grow and pick themselves back up. The folks that haven't had to do that tend to not be very strong of character. And I wouldn't want to change that about myself. So, no, I don't think that I would say anything. The only thing I can really think that I would say, hopefully wouldn't make a tangible difference, but might make a difference in perhaps outlook. And I think that if I'm talking about post-high school graduation Mike, I think that is a Mike that definitely needed to hear this and didn't until a little ways after this. And that is that you have value, that you are worthwhile, and that you will be cherished, both by other folks and eventually by yourself. I would hope that, again, that wouldn't influence the path. But yes, flossing is really important. I regret to say that I never really was much of a flosser until recently. I would say like in the last year. And I have definitely gotten very, very happy reports from my dentist lately, and that feels good. But yes, flossing is important. So thank you, Sammy, for joining here. Been awesome having you. So enjoy the morning when you wake up at 8:30. Love you. I'll talk to you soon. So that was just for Sammy. Everybody else, I'm not done yet. But yeah, I mean, I would just provide some affirmations more than anything else, because I think that when I was graduating high school, that was something that I did very much need. And it wasn't until a little while after that I got put in a position of being in a more healthy, familial environment and relationship in which I started receiving that love. And all I can really think is how much of a difference that made in my life. One of the things that I've been very much enjoying lately is how much representation there is in media, I think especially in TV shows now, of support, of people supporting each other in ways that are, without any expectation of anything in return. I just went through a rewatch in Jenny's first watch of Ted Lasso. And as much as there was a lot of feel-good stuff in there, I think the best thing about it is just how supportive the characters were with one another. And that's, I think, one of the biggest changes that I wish I could see in the world is just people generally accepting, loving, and supporting each other, holding each other to account, holding each other's sins and malfeasance to task, but just generally supporting through loving affirmations with one another and being unafraid to provide that level of verbal and emotional support. And I'm happy to see it be better represented and more prominently represented. And I think that that's what I would want for myself. If I were to tell myself anything, it would be affirmations of love and support. So there you go. Thank you, Ben, for asking that question. All right. Next one. By the way, if you haven't seen Ted Lasso yet, for fuck's sakes, go watch it. Wow, what a show. Make that a priority. What would be the horror movie that represented the turn of the century most accurately? I would say, see, turn of the century. Growing up, the term turn of the century elicited envisions of the 1900s, early 1900s. But the fact of the matter is, turn of the century is usually about a decade after the actual century rolls. So we're in 2023 now, turn of the century. There's a fly here that is just bugging the shit out of me. Sorry about that. But yeah, we're in 2023 now. Turn of the century, more accurately, would be 2010s. Sorry. So I think we've passed the point in which we're talking, horse-drawn carriages and top hats. So to answer your question, I think the horror movie that most represents the turn of the century, I would say, is probably House of Wax, the Paris Hilton version. There you go. That's my answer. It's a very 2000s movie. Enjoy. I'm actually really happy that it's gotten kind of a revival in popularity and in viewer support from the horror community, because, man, that was panned when it first came out. It's interesting watching the Castle Entertainment productions start to really kind of get embraced again. I really enjoyed House on Haunted Hill, I think it was 1999 one. So William Castle, it really is Jackie. So yeah, if I'm thinking turn of the century, like between 2000 and 2010, it's right up there, just with the vibe of everything. Well, yeah. William Castle was a very, very bombastic filmmaker. He was responsible for the original House on Haunted Hill, The Tingler. If you've ever heard of Hello Horror Show Channel, welcome. Sorry, I do want to respond to your email. I'm terrible at responding to emails. I'm going to get to your question in just a second, actually. So, if you've ever heard of like the gimmick showings and productions of the 1950s monster movies and horror movies and so forth, William Castle was like front and center in all of them. So in the late 90s, I think it was his actual descendants, maybe grandchildren, maybe just children, that worked to bring Castle Entertainment to life. And I believe it started with the 1999 House on Haunted Hill. So it was kind of bringing a lot of cheeky fun that was signature William Castle back to the screen, but with a very, very edgy, gory, gritty, grimy, modern feel. And so then we had 13 Ghosts, and then we had, I think House of Wax was either a full-on Castle Entertainment production or was kind of like halfway between them, as it just didn't wind up panning out. But I hear tell that there may be a bit of a revival for the production studio in terms of a streaming show, possibly. I think that Castle Entertainment isn't entirely done yet. I wish that it had really taken off. I wish that the public had embraced it more, and the love that we have seen for House of Wax lately, I wish had been there previously. But we're getting there. We're getting back on the right track, and we're starting to show the love. Horror Show Channel. For those of you that don't know, we enjoy Good Mythical Morning, and we've had the opportunity on and off to kind of watch some Good Mythical Evening together, and when it's not being a technical shit show. So yeah, I got an email asking about the opportunity and possibility of watching the new Good Mythical Evening. I would like to. What day is that going to be happening again? Good Mythical Evening. Oh, it's next Friday. Okay, so it's a week from now. Well, let me check my calendar. Oh, I have a watch party, but that's not until, I think that's at 6 p.m. So I think Good Mythical Evening is going to be after that. Let me get back to you. I'm going to get to your email this weekend, and yeah, we'll touch base. I think it may be a possibility. I have something at 6 p.m., but that's Eastern Standard Time. I don't think Good Mythical Evening is going to be happening for hours after that. So yeah, we'll check it out. We'll see what's what. So the only issue that I have as far as Good Mythical Evening goes is I'm fairly certain it happens live with no buffer, like no 15-minute or even 15-second buffer there where they can block things out if they need to, censor things. I think that's kind of the point of it, is having it live and uncensored. And the idea of having it be alcohol based is fine, but the emetophobia in me, the notion that somebody could wind up being like so drunk that they're sick. Like, it's one of the reasons I love the idea of the show Drunk History. I can't watch the fucking show. I wish I could. It's the same thing. I can't watch Triangle of Sadness. I wish I could. I've heard so many good things. But shout out to Jackie, because I was gifted a cut of Jackass movies for emetophobia, like all the puking scenes cut out. I would think they would scurry off camera before that happened too. But yeah, I mean, how weird is that? I contain multitudes. I love watching Good Mythical Morning, and I love watching the Willets, especially the early Willets, when they just tossed fertilizer into a fucking taco shell or something like that. Yet at the same time, I get anxiety about that like crazy. So yeah, we'll see. But yeah, I'm that sounds like it could be a fun time. So yeah, we'll check that out. All right. Yeah, I would imagine not, Jackie. That would be maybe half an hour long, and yeah. Maybe one day I will get over it. But I actually have said that I've been asked this before a few times now. What, if any, are any movies that I refuse to watch ever? And my answer to that is the Slaughtered Vomit Girls or Dolls trilogy, or the Lucifer Valentine trilogy of slaughtered vomit dolls. Not just because of the vomit content, but honestly, just from what I see, there's nothing redeemable about it. And being such a problematic figure with such controversial, let's just say, different accounts of the set environment of production. Yeah, there's no interest from my end on any level of that. So yeah, that would be my answer to that question. Is I'm willing to watch most anything. As long as it's fictitious. I'm, obviously, when you start getting into extreme horror, you tend to wind up with a little bit of, I would say, toxic gatekeeping to the point of people bragging about watching abusive content. And that's where I draw the line. So yeah, I hold it to be either fictitious or having some sort of educational or enlightening merit if it's not fiction. So like documentary and kind of thing. But yeah, nothing about the Slaughtered Vomit Doll trilogy appeals to me in the slightest. So that's my answer on that one. Not that anybody asked this time. What is your favorite time of day? Thank you, Tom. My favorite time of day, I would say, is probably about 5:30 in the morning. Again, I wake up at 4, and if I'm feeling froggy and I'm adhering to my good practices, then I'm up and about and out the door and walking and exercising. Once I'm done exercising, I like to be in the shower. Get clean, mousse in the hair, get ready. And usually by about 5 a.m., I'm awake, exercised, showered, dressed, ready to go. So I would say about half an hour after that point, when I've actually woken up a little bit more, I'm very much a morning person. I'm not at my brain best first thing, but I am just generally more awake then and more productive then and more, really getting the day together early in the morning. I'm not that much of a night person. I'm old. I'm an old man. By the time 9 o'clock hits, I'm wondering why I'm not in bed. When I go to Orlando, I'm definitely going to be staying up later, but I'm probably going to be taking 2 or 3 naps to prepare for it. I do have to I purposefully have to reel myself in, because there will be times in which, it's 5 a.m. and I'm sitting in my computer and I'm getting the day ready. And that's when I want to do my, Wordle and my crosswords and my Duolingo and so forth. And, really do the mental exercises ode to day. And Wordle, usually fine. Connections, usually fine. But I purposefully stopped myself from Duolingo. I had to do that because I kept making fucking mistakes. It's like, at some point I have to recognize that 5 a.m. I may be energetic and raring to go, but my brain is not quite there yet. I need a couple more hours to really get out of that gear and actually have my brain actually work properly. So yeah, but I would say 5:30. That's my go time. That's my golden hour. That's when I'm usually enjoying things really well. And my wife and I, Jenny, we're on very different sleep awake life schedules, which is fine. She's very much a late person. She wakes up late. She goes to bed late. Perfectly fine. Which gives us a lot of time together, and it also gives us a lot of time independent with one another, which is honestly one of the best things. One of the things I love about our marriage is we are two very independent people that are enjoying this journey of life together. And so the time that I wake up in the morning is usually just my time. It's my time to do what I want, to achieve the things that I want. The only difference, I have to make sure I'm not making a whole lot of noise, but it's just unequivocally, I'm in my office. It's my time. And, she has her time after I go to sleep, and, she's up in her craft room and doing things. And, 5:30 is about the time that I'm awake, I'm alert, doing things, doing good stuff, and it's just my time. So there you go. This makes me an object of hate for people that can't nap. And I don't apologize for it, but I empathize with you. I have the ability to lay down, immediately be asleep, nap for 20 or 30 minutes, and wake up bright-eyed and bushy-tailed. Yeah, I know. My wife hates me for that, but there you have it. All right. Next question. Which horror movie has the best meal in it? I think this probably would have been a more difficult question a year or two ago. But because when we start to get, like horror movies and meals, we're getting into territory like the, Texas Chainsaw Massacre which, by the way, happy anniversary to that. Yes. That just kind of popped into my brain organically there. Happy anniversary to Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Thank you to John Larroquette for existing. We get into some really weird territory if we're talking about horror movies and iconic meals. But we have recently come across culinary horror. And that would not have been quite so appetizing if all we had coming out recently was Flux Gourmet. Don't know if you've seen that. It's a trip. It's from the same filmmaker as In Fabric and Barbarian Sound Studio. Not exactly my cup of tea, but although I did find it to be the most palatable of the three. But we also had The Menu, which just makes this question automatically have an easy answer, doesn't it? So much good food in that movie, like genuinely good food. And the foodie in me, and the person that, I love to cook, which has made the health journey that I've been on a little bit of a pain in the ass, to be honest. I've been feeding my sourdough starter. I haven't been baking, which has been killing me. I love to bake. I haven't been baking because it's just really, I think that I can undergo maintenance when I get to that point while being able to make breads and, desserts and baked goods and so forth, and just kind of moderate my intake. But if I'm actively trying to lose, it's best that I just don't. No, thank you. It's probably just best. So, but there was a large part of me that really appreciated so much of the emotional resonance that was happening in The Menu, with the love of cooking that Ralph Fiennes, that the characters were trying to tap back into, and how much it kind of became a commodity of what once was passion through artistry became a shell of itself through almost fanboy levels of dissected appreciation for that artistry, where it almost became a sterile version of itself, to the point where, and apologies for spoilers, to the point where making a cheeseburger became a heartwarming endeavor, became something where the passion was found again and was appreciated again. And by God, both on the part of me that loves cooking, the part of me that loves eating, the part of me that loves being emotionally engaged in a film, I would say on all 3 levels there, that cheeseburger was amazing. So there you go. That's my answer. What is the best meal in a horror movie? It is the cheeseburger from the menu. Oh. All right. We still have some more to get through here. Unless anybody has any questions. If you have questions for me, leave them in the chat. I'll answer them live. We'll do it live. Happy to do it. But in the meantime, I will go ahead and fall back on the list and we'll continue whittling down the AMAs. What kind of vampire would I be? Would I be sparkly? I would be an energy vampire. I love the TV show What We Do in the Shadows. I love the character of Colin Robinson. There's so much fun to be had there. And I think that I would have the ability to pull that off so well if I was being purposeful about it. I think that I could drain the soul out of people if I was given half an opportunity to be an energy vampire along the lines of Colin Robinson. And my God, no spoilers, but this season has been unhinged in the best way possible. Hello, DC, and welcome. Yeah, that's the kind of vampire I'd be. I just think that'd be super fun. And is it weird that there'd be a part of me that would want to befriend Colin Robinson, like have a commiseration? And Laszlo, like I loved the last season of them actually kind of like bonding and gelling and so forth. So anyway, that's, yeah. This last episode of, God, was something creatures, hybrid creatures or something like that. That was unhinged shit. Have you fooled yourself? Oh, constantly. I exist in a perpetual state of fooling myself. It allows me to actually have a smile. No, that's a joke. No, I've definitely fooled myself in both good and bad ways. Okay, so I do want to answer things thoughtfully and thoroughly and, be very honest about things. It's a difficult thing to say though, because, there's a certain connotation to the, to the verbiage there of fooling oneself, because I can take a look at a lot of particular instances of moments in life in which I have deceived myself. But while at the same time, I also don't want to trivialize anybody else's plight or struggle or diagnoses. And that's where it kind of gets a little tricky. So, it's not necessarily the theme of it, it's the wording of it that I'm going to be very kind of careful about. So there's this, one of the things that I do suffer from is body dysmorphia. Again, this is exactly where I would have difficulty in distilling it down to the wording of fooling myself. Because I certainly think that it's a lot more complex than that, and I certainly would not want to trivialize anybody else's struggle with body dysmorphia. But for instance, I know that I talked about this, and I'm not looking for accolades. This is something that's just factual, just a bullet point that is topical for this particular instance. I have just crossed the mark of 125 pounds down in my weight loss journey. And when I see a side-by-side picture of me before and after, I can see the difference. Of course I can. When I am just alone, catching myself in the mirror or looking down in the shower, I don't see a difference. I haven't lost a pound. This is an instance in which I am definitely fooling myself because obviously I have changed. I can definitely feel the difference. I feel the difference in my energy, in my health. I feel the difference in my interaction with the world around me. I'm wearing a shirt that I would never have been able to wear 2 years ago. There's been a lot of positive aspects of this, but there's also elements of my brain that that is fooling itself in, I guess, kind of an odd way that prevents me from seeing that. I guess over time, the imagery I will have of my physical self and my concept of self will adapt. Perhaps not. That's a weird thing, but that's humanity, and the human brain is a fucking weird thing, and that's for damn sure. I've also fooled myself in ways that, trying to, gloss over things that, again, I appreciate your question, Tom, and I certainly don't take issue with it, not in any way, but I am trying to avoid trivializing things that should not be trivialized. So I'm being careful with the wording. But going through childhood trauma, through abuse, has caused many things, both good and bad, in terms of survival responses that have been a part of my life. And one of those things has been repressed memories that it hasn't in a long time, and it kind of makes me think that maybe we're done with that portion of things, but it has in the past surfaced out of nowhere, and it will wreck me for weeks, where all of a sudden a memory that I have not had for decades, like all of a sudden there it is. And I mean, usually that is not great. Usually it's repressed for a reason, but my brain locked it away. It protected itself until I was ready to remember it and handle it. So, I think it's a good thing under bad circumstances that your brain does have that ability to protect itself in a way that it's fooling yourself in a very odd way, in a way that I certainly mean with absolutely no flippancy. But I think that it may qualify. So yeah, I've had good and I've had bad instances of definitely fooling myself. So yes. I don't think I've ever purposefully fooled myself. I don't think I've ever set out to, you know what? I have. Now that I think about it, I have. So when you live in a place that has seasons, you will have winter coats. You will have coats that you only wear during the winter. And by the time the spring happens and the last snow falls and so forth, and you start to get, above 45 degrees Fahrenheit, the winter coat will go in the closet and you won't see it again until December. There have been times in which I have purposefully left some cash in one of the pockets as a treat to myself 6-7 months down the line. And it's such a delightful treat because I have completely forgotten it. I will put on my winter coat and I'm dreading it and I'm in a miserable mood because, it's cold now. I missed the fall. I missed the autumn. It only lasted 2 weeks. Spooky season, it's over. Now we're getting snow on the ground. Ooh, money. So yeah, that's been a time in which I actually have purposefully fooled myself. It's kind of neat. So there we go. How does hate feel? Hate feels like a poison for your soul. I am very careful with the H word. And I actually make a point of that in my reviews because so many people will get the opportunity if they review well, honestly, anything, art pieces, product demos, anything under the sun. If they're offering their opinion on blah, then they will definitely get the opportunity to use the word hate. And I choose not to. I mean, if I do, it's extremely selective and it's extremely purposeful. Like, if I say the word, then it is with a large amount of intent because I don't say it lightly. I think that hate is probably one of the worst aspects of humanity and one of the biggest problematic elements of our society these days. I think we are undergoing a time in which we are very encamped. And we have lost the ability to respectfully disagree. And I think that we have crossed over into surrounding the bubbles that I was talking about earlier kind of exist in a large part because of hate. And that can be seen as, a causational thing. Because, I mean, the one thing that we really shouldn't tolerate is intolerance. So I get this a lot in kind of, a lot of societal, philosophical, political questioning is why can't you come to the table for the folks that are, have such a different viewpoint as to support platforms of hate or platforms of bigotry or platforms of intolerance? And oftentimes it's not phrased like that. Oftentimes it's phrased more along the lines of, why can't you come to the table with this particular group? Let's just say MAGA conservatives. Why can't you come to the table and meet them halfway? And if we were talking about the 80s Reagan era of republicanism, of pro-capitalist, socially conservative, fiscally conservative, I think that there was definitely a lot of bigotry in play there, but it wasn't overt and it wasn't a platform bullet point. It was under the radar, but it was imbued within policy. Regardless, thank you, Jackie. But yeah, so I mean, I'll get the question about why can't you meet them halfway, and to that I say, it's a difficult thing to meet somebody halfway if we're not talking about two different sides of an ideology. If we're not debating the benefits of NAFTA, if we're not talking about the socio-political, economic challenges of drug abuse in the inner cities, if we're talking about human rights being stripped away and people that I call my neighbor, because they are my neighbor, saying because they don't know that I'm bisexual, they only know that they're talking to a bearded guy that is married to a woman and that's all they need to know. So they make their assumptions and they say that homosexuals should be eradicated. I have had that happen in front of my eyeballs. How do I meet that halfway? So if we're talking about hate, as much as I would love to bridge the gap and have discourse with well-meaning, differently opinioned folks, hate has put up a barrier that has made that incredibly difficult. And I take the opportunity to find that bridge whenever I can. One of my neighbors, my close neighbors, my next door neighbors even, very conservative folks, wonderful people. They have very different political ideologies. We really don't talk about it a whole lot, but they are wonderful people. Very Christian, very upright, very proper. And we get along great because they don't hate. They don't approach things with bigotry, and hate is an immediate brick wall. And in my mind, the only way to pierce that wall is with kindness. Hate only begets hate. So that's why it feels like a poison for the soul, and that's why the only remedy is love. And if people are staunchly desiring to hate others, that's a reflection on them. And that's not my job to fix. If through my passive levels of love, through my efforts of improving myself and my community, can make an impact on them, that's fantastic. But I can only make my choices between hate and love, and I refuse to put up that brick wall. I also just refuse to engage with other people's, because there is that old adage of never wrestle with a pig in the mud, because you'll both get dirty, and halfway through you'll realize that the pig is just enjoying themselves. So yeah, there we go. So yeah, that's what hate feels like. And that's why I refuse to trivialize the word. That's why I treat it with reverence, and that's why I say it very infrequently, because I do think it's a big word, and I never want to make it small. I always want it to be a big word. All right. Let's get one or two more done. I want to have some saved up for some vlogs, but man, that list was getting long, and I needed to have a live stream to pare it down. Have you experienced hopopola recently? Well, that's just a fine question, Tom. That's a fine question that I am certainly not going to be stalling to answer. I think that, Tom, you have delivered some very fine questions generally. And thank you so much for asking so much good questions. And yeah, no, I haven't. So according to the Googles here, hopopola means jumping into puddles. No, I haven't. Have you been to Hippopalooza, the new rock concert? I have not. I haven't been to a concert in a while. I think the last concert that I went to was it was a festival. I'm trying to remember the name of it. It was a metal festival, had Korn, Avenged Sevenfold, and a bunch of smaller venues or smaller bands. I don't remember the name of it. Damn. But no, that was the last festival I was at, or last concert even I was at. But I did get to hear Korn play Chutes and Ladders. Mayhem Fest, that's what it was. Thank you. Yeah, Mayhem Fest up at Darien Lake. That was a lot of fun. I got to hear Korn play Chutes and Ladders. I about lost my shit when those bagpipes started up. So happy. Anyway, but jumping into puddles, no, I haven't. As much as I enjoy the idea of jumping into puddles and the frivolity of living in a carefree, juvenile way, I don't like wet socks. I hate the idea of wet tennis shoes, wet socks. I don't even like mowing the grass if it's been raining recently, because I know that my shoes will, through the process of mowing, get wet. So no, I haven't experienced hopopola recently. What are your ideal pizza toppings? I'm a person that doesn't necessarily have any individual preference of pizza toppings. I think the combinations are more interesting. So, I, as much as I enjoy I enjoy the gamut, honestly. One of my favorite combinations is like, what you would traditionally in America here call supreme. So onions, bell peppers, pepperoni, sausage, mushrooms. That's a really fantastic combination. It's kind of everything under the sun for the most part. But I enjoy the combination of pepperoni and jalapeno. I enjoy the combination of Italian sausage and mushroom. If we're talking like two topping pizzas, yeah, there's a couple of particular combinations that I really, really like. And as far as the controversial Hawaiian pizza, I don't mind it. I don't really get the hate that people have for it. At the same time, it's never my preference. So if somebody were to do a pizza party and, get a stack of 6 pies and one of them happened to be Hawaiian, I'll take a slice, be happy to. If I'm ordering pizza on my own, it's just never my choice. And I was like, it's never one that really, there are others ahead of the board. One thing that I didn't really discover until I moved out here into Western New York was the beauty of buffalo chicken pizza. It is something special. So you'll typically have like buffalo sauce with the chicken, usually grilled chicken. I've had it where it's like kind of breaded, fried chicken, and that it's the wrong note to hit. That has its time and its place, but it's not on this. But yeah, buffalo sauce base with grilled chicken chunks and usually blue cheese crumbles and, some signature toppings. But yeah, it's basically taking the essence of a beautifully cooked chicken wing with wonderful sauce dipped into blue cheese or ranch on a pizza. And it's one of the specialties around here, and I love it so much. So, those are my ideal pizza toppings. All right. Let's do 2 more. We're winding up. We're rounding the corner on 2 hours. Let's do 2 more. If you opened a restaurant, what would it be like? I've thought about this a lot. If I were to open a restaurant, I would do it here, specifically in Alfred, New York. So Alfred is the local, it's about 10 minutes away from me. It's a college town, and it's one of the most college towns of any college town I've ever seen. It is very small. Alfred is a small town. It's rural, it's tucked away, and it has 2 universities, one of which I work at. It has, so there's like one main street, has one traffic signal with one major main street. And on the one side, you have Alfred University. On the other side, you have Alfred State University. So one's a SUNY campus owned by the New York State, and the other is a private institution. And so you have a lot of students, and you would think that you would have a lot of options on Main Street. You really don't. There's a pizza shop. There's a couple bars. There's a just classic American kind of diner. And then you have a series of restaurants that tend to just kind of rotate out. The sandwich shop will open and then it'll close. A barbecue place will open and then it'll close. And I think that everybody kind of opens up. There is one actually kind of fine food restaurant, but regardless, I think that everybody that opens up kind of does it with the wrong approach. The fine food restaurant notwithstanding, because that is pricey, but the food really does kind of serve that price. But, it does no good to open a sandwich shop and then offer sandwiches at a premium price. So if I were to do it, what I would do is bring my love and the thing that I miss the most about living in San Diego, and that one of the things I love the most about living in San Diego, and that is proper Mexican food. Baja influenced, Tijuana influenced Mexican food. Carne asada is all over the place. I miss the restaurants there where everything was delicious, the size of your fucking head, and dirt cheap. The place would be, clean, but it would be a rundown place. The menu would be written on the windows with soap bars. There's a signature feel to it. And I really think that could do extremely well in a small town that is surrounded on all sides by tons of students. And I think that that's something that Alfred could use. So yeah, that's something that I would love to bring there. Here's the only caveat to that is one of the things that I think really makes that food are really good tortillas. And when you have a restaurant in San Diego, you have access to all sorts of tortillas. Not so much out here. Pretty much everything you get is the factory-made stuff that got shipped over 3 months ago from God knows where. So what I would love to do is actually lease out 2 storefronts side by side, maybe tear down the wall between them. And I would have a restaurant and I would have a tortilleria that specializes in just making homemade, corn tortillas, flour tortillas that are, that fucking big to make burritos that are that fucking big. And then, stuff them. Sell them as burritos that are the size of your arm for $3 or $4 to hungry, drunk students. That's what I would do. And deliver the flavors that I used to love. The only real thing that I think would be a problem is one of the best cuts of meat to make carne asada is skirt steak or flank steak. And what used to be that cut being dirt cheap dog food cut is now some of the most expensive. So I would need to find some way to work around that so that I'm, not meeting the same fate as the other restaurants that have constantly rotated out and offering food that is supposed to be student accessible, but at prices where they can't afford it. So I'd have to find a way to make that work. But I think maybe that's an area where having the attached tortilleria may benefit, because there are some Mexican restaurants that are, surrounding in the area. And I think that there could be a place in this area for a proper tortilleria to make mass amounts of tortillas, not just for the restaurant that's attached to it, but also to ship out, within a couple hour driving distance, kind of, the short range, arterial runs without actually hitting the freeways. So yeah, that's what I would love to do if I were to open a restaurant, is an Alfred, a Mexican restaurant, and a tortilleria attached to it to support the restaurant. Yeah. Let's do one more. What do you consider one of the most misunderstood parts of the technology stack of everyone's day-to-day computing? I am out of stuff to drink. I'm glad this is the last one because honestly my throat's getting a little raw. Good question, Tom. Thank you. And yes, hats off to Tom. He is the man with great questions. I think one of the most misunderstood parts of everyone's technology stack would be the one that's most in front of their eyeballs. The end user simplified interface. And I think that's been a little bit to the detriment of the IT world, soup to nuts. So, I don't want to place all the blame on Apple, but when we do have a situation where we finally have provided people with pieces of technology where the learning curve is almost a flat line. There's very little that needs to be learned. It just works. People don't need to know about permissions. People don't need to know about directory structures. People don't need to know about anything along those lines, about file extensions or any, yeah. They just open it up and it works, which is great. But it also removes the element of technological understanding and I think curiosity that leads to a spark of interest. I mean, even when, even with application development has turned very much into a WYSIWYG, what you see is what you get, graphical workflow type environment, which has been kind of just an odd thing to see. I don't think that things don't need to be complicated or overly complicated, but I think that having that makes it so that people will take the technology a little bit more for granted. And what I've been experiencing in my life as somebody that does stand up infrastructure is that misunderstanding will lead very much to an expectation of immediate results of simplified inquiries. So people will say, okay, well, why can't you, I just want this attached to this and have that work the way it works. I'm like, okay, well, I can do that. But first of all, I'm going to have to figure out how. Second of all, I'm going to have to write some custom code for it. And third of all, it's probably going to take me about 2 weeks of development, testing, really do some good run-throughs, production environment, and then, integration within, everything and finding a way to back it up and support it even beyond, what I do. So, but I just wanted you to do this and this. I just wanted you to connect these two things. It's like, yeah, but you don't really understand what you're actually asking there. You understand the goal of what you want. Thank you, Jackie. I really appreciate you joining. I'm going to be wrapping this up here pretty soon here. But so people will understand generally what they want out of technology, but they don't have the appreciation for the complexity that might actually involve. And I do blame a bit of that on the increased accessibility of easy to use UI interfaces. Sorry, I know that was like saying ATM machine, but yeah. So that's my answer for that. And I think that's going to go ahead and wrap things up. Jackie's heading out. DC's heading out. So that is going to be me heading out. We've been we're about to cross the line in 2 hours here. So my throat is raw and I've been very happy to do this. This has been a really great time. So thank you so much for joining me here on this live stream. This was a lot of fun. And I look forward to the next one. I don't know when it'll be happening. Hopefully the strike will be over soon, and hopefully I'll be getting back to some regular reviews. I have been recording a few and locking them away, making them available for patrons. But so I'm looking forward to getting back at it. So let's all just pray that that they find some way to come together at the table and find some agreement there. In the meantime, I will do my best to stay connected in however I can. So thank you again. And have a great evening, everybody. I'll talk to you later. Take care.